I will start by calling the meeting to order with a roll call attendance. Russ Williston.
Present.
Ann Ogilvy.
Present.
Thank you. David Millett.
Present.
And Susan Munyon.
Yes, present.
Great. And Emily Taylor also here. Great. So, oh dear, now
Sorry about that.
Okay. I was going to say, if that's coming from my device, I had no idea how to shut it off, so we're in trouble. Okay. So on the agenda, good. Public comment is number 2. Any public comment at this time? Please raise your hand and I'll recognize you. All right. Roy, go ahead, state your name and address, please, and then go ahead.
Sure. Roy Rizak, 125 Harvard Road. Thank you, Emily, and thank you, committee, for all the work you folks have done over the past 18, 20 months or so relative to understanding what the town of Lancaster, the citizens are interested in relative to improved form of government here. As I understood your survey that you did, there was overwhelming support for expanding the board, the select board, from 3 members to 5 members. I would like to voice my personal support for that, as well as my strong support for you folks advancing that idea and proposing to the select board that they advance that idea with a warrant article at the town meeting. I would ask that they would do that. I would ask that you would propose that to them. I think the 5-person select board is so important that if the select board declines to do that or declines to do it in time, then I think that a group of citizens should advance the proposal for a 5-person select board. I think what we're seeing with that input you got from your survey, that people want a broader range of ideas and input on the select board. That's, I think, a key finding that you had, as well as I think another key finding was in terms of improved communication and increased communication. One of the things I would suggest you might think about doing, if you have time, you might consider looking at the votes on the select board to see how homogeneous some groupings are. If you eliminate certain perfunctory votes, like minutes approval and votes to adjourn, how often are certain pairs of select board members voting the same way? I think that would be a very strong indication that we're not getting new ideas, we're getting only a very small set of ideas onto the select board. So I would strongly suggest that you make that proposal to the select board as soon as you can here to get this on the warrant article. I strongly support it. If you decide to go the citizens petition route, I will do what I can to help. I'm busy on another committee that you may know about, but I would do what I can to help, and I would, strongly encourage and cheer for you folks. So that's my comment. If there's any clarification questions, otherwise I will back off and drop off out of your meeting. Emily, was that clear? I can't hear you, Emily. You're muted.
Oh, sorry. Okay, here I am. Yes, thank you for sharing that. That was, succinct, and, I think a lot of people are in agreement with you. The precise wording of that is something that we've been working on right now. What we've approved as a committee is to put, I don't have the exact language in front of me. Oh, wait, I do actually, because I have Ann's awesome minutes. Recommend that Lancaster put a proposal before town meeting in May 2024 that Lancaster begin the process to adopt a 5-person select board.
Great.
Yeah. So, Russ, help me remember. Did we change the language to just say expand after that? Since that meeting, that was on January 2nd.
I don't remember exactly. I'd have to go back myself and check.
Let me go to the report for a second.
I think if we left that ambiguous, I have a feeling we'd be willing to change that, Emily. It was just there's I don't know if you've picked this up in one of our other meetings, Roy, but there's only one town in Massachusetts that has 7 selectmen, and I think if we made a motion that didn't say 5, it was probably just because we forgot that 7 was an option too.
Yeah, so the summary recommendation is, I'm just looking at the report that we actually submitted. It is the Government Study Committee recommends that Lancaster put a proposal before town meeting in May 2024 that Lancaster begin the process to adopt a 5-person select board.
Yes, that's fine. Right. And going to 7, I think, is well beyond what we can do here at this point in time.
Yeah, agreed. Agreed. Sorry, something just came into my head and then it left away. One thing that we did get a lot of pushback on in the when I made the presentation, and Roy, I attended your presentation virtually, and thanks for your commitment and hard work and attention to detail and remaining unruffled during your presentation. I know it's not easy. Keep losing my train of thought. Sorry, I'm like a little off my game today. I'm not feeling the best, so stick with me. But one of the big pushbacks we got was what it means to begin the process. Is it legal? Is it, a fact-finding thing? They really harped on that. So I think we'll need a bit more definition in there, and that's something we're working on. Russ, you look ready to talk, and you're very well informed on this.
Right. And I guess I would say this from my removed position here. You on the committee are closer to it. I would not focus a whole lot on the process. I would focus on getting approval. Don't we have to get approval by the legislature to do this? If that's the case, I would say then whatever the document is, we need to get the legislature to approve it. Let us draft that. Let us draft the bylaws, whatever, get town council to draft it up so that what the town is doing is stating, we want 5 member select board, and we're sending it to the legislature for their process. I don't want to start another process here in town to talk about this. The phrase that comes to mind is ad nauseum.
Yeah.
I'm with you, Roy. I think we actually, whether we had it in there or not yet, I think our intention was to put the draft warrant article and stuff in the appendix, so it was all available. So I mean, yes. I think to us the intention was clear, right? I don't know if they were confused or they wanted to be confused when they made that comment, Roy, but I did hear that, and I think they know what they need to do. It would be the same process you're familiar with. So
okay.
I don't know what else it would be.
And just one last comment. I would also ask them to give you a response by pick a particular date, so that if they decide they're not going to do it or haven't decided, at least a group of concerned citizens would have the option to put together something for the meeting.
Yeah.
Okay. We this is too important in my mind, and you've come too far.
We're of the same mind, Roy. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So encouragement, All right.
Thank you.
Else?
Oh, pardon. I think I cut you off. Oh, and Anne.
Ask any other questions of clarification for me.
Okay. Anne, go ahead. I see you raised your hand. I'm not sure if it's in relation to what Roy said, but please go ahead.
Thank you. It sort of is. First, just wanted to thank Roy for his comments. And also, I thought, because I know many people watch the recordings of our meetings because they are scintillating. I was thinking it would be a good idea just take a minute to explain the process, because it is a lengthy process, and because a vote at town meeting is not the final word. And I don't think we can explain the process enough, because it is a complex state process to get this done. So, Russ, I think you know more about this than anyone else. So if you could just run down the steps for people, I think it would be great to clarify them.
When later in the meeting, or just now, or
right now, that would be great.
Yeah, no. So I mean, just in short, So I think
Sorry to interrupt. Do you want to share your screen? Do you have a document that you're reading from? Is that easier? You don't have to. I just wanted to make the offer.
No, I was just going to run through the steps really quickly just to recap them. So, I mean, I think what we had intended when we talked about it, and maybe we need to clear up, is that the first step would be to put it on the warrant for this annual town meeting, and the town would vote to ask the selectmen, or to authorize the selectmen to request legislation that would allow Lancaster to expand its select board to 5. And so then between town meetings, or between over the winter, I guess, I think it usually takes a while, the select board would request that legislation. The legislature would pass a special act allowing Lancaster to expand its select board to 5 members. And then it would come back to Lancaster for a ballot vote. Because typically all those special legislation pieces, if you read them, ask the town to approve them with a ballot vote before they become effective. And so the entire town would have to vote in either a special election or in a ballot at an annual election to expand the select board to 5. And then the way we have it worded in the draft one that would be included in our appendix, it actually sets it up so it's the following year after that, at the annual election, we'd begin the process of expanding to 5. And the way that that draft spells it out is the same process that it was one of the towns that starts in M used. And so at the first election after the ballot vote, we would run a ballot that gives you a list of all the candidates that stepped forward. So say 5 people stepped forward to run for the 2 new select board spots that were available, plus the selectman who's being reelected that year anyway. Say 5 stepped forward for those 3 seats. The top vote getter would then serve a 3-year term, and the other 2 vote getters would serve 2 and 1-year terms just to set up that rotation. So we had the rotation the 3-year terms that are staggered back in place. Mm-hmm. And then for every election after that, it would just be your typical election. Every year you'd elect 1 or 2 selectmen. So that's the process in a nutshell. And it's the same one because the draft we had available was the one that I had presented last summer. That was the one I think we had intended to include as a suggestion, because we can't tell the selectmen what to put on the ballot at town meeting. We can just suggest that would be in the appendix for them to use.
Mm-hmm. The question, the one question I have is if it goes on the warrant, that's just to start the process, but the ballot, what just happened? Everybody went to
Sorry, I'm just trying to share Russ's website because it has
right.
content.
Suddenly everybody went away. So
I forgot that website was still up there. That's great.
Yeah. Can you see the screen?
Yes, it's very nice.
Okay, cool. All right.
And he answers all the questions. Like when I read it last year, I was like, wow, it's like a lot of work went into this, and look at all these other towns that are all in our area, and but my question is, does the vote for the town happen the week after they do the warrant, or we have to wait until the town until it is approved by the state before we actually have the citizens vote? So
the town would vote in a so your email's on the screen, just so you know. Okay.
I'm just sharing this with there we go.
So all of those special legislation pieces that the state approves for individual towns, usually at the end it says this will take effect when the town ratifies it with a ballot vote, or with a town election vote, right? And so that it's after the legislature passes the legislation first that we'd all go to
Got
take
it.
a ballot vote to
Okay. Yep.
approve.
So it's not like they're going to vote the following week, because we have our town meeting that Monday, and then like the next week is the vote. So it's like a whole year away before the town meeting.
Right.
Just
So
getting it
it would,
on the warrant just passes the town meeting. That's all. And then
So-
that just gives them the authority to go off and request it by the state. So, okay.
yeah. So I think the process, it usually takes 2 years, unless there's a special election in between that lets us
Mhm.
do something quicker. It would probably be a ballot vote or a town meeting vote this year, then a ballot vote next year at the annual town election, and then at the following annual town election. So I guess in 2026, that feels weird to say, that's when we'd actually elect the new selectmen. Yeah.
Great. Susan, does that answer your questions? Anyone else?
That's wonderful. It's like absolutely, like I said, I haven't looked at this particular site in a while, but I remember, being very impressed that it was very thorough on the steps and all the questions, and it's not all at once, and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Thanks, Russ. I appreciate it.
No problem.
And I think that Roy has hopped off. He had said that he really wanted to get over to. Oh no, there he is. Okay.
He's still there, but
I'm
he
still
is
here, but unless you've got a question for me, I am going to hop off.
Okay, cool. Yep.
All right.
But David has his
Here.
hand up.
Yeah.
Thank you, Roy.
Right. Bye.
David has his hand up. I don't know if you can see that.
I
Okay.
do see it. David, go ahead.
Sorry, of course I put my hand up and I was right in the middle of coughing. So you guys didn't want to hear that, I promise. Russ, you mentioned about the possibility of a special election. Would you support that?
I have to go back to the language that I had in that article, but I think because I had copied it more or less from that other town that used it, they had put in that the election to elect the new selectmen couldn't take place any earlier than such and such a year.
Mm.
And I thought that was good because I thought it kind of took out the question of something happening unpredictably earlier. I don't think it.
I actually like that because it gives a lot of stability and it takes away any kind of thoughts of anything like that. And I think in this case, like I said, I'm kind of out of everybody here, I think I'm probably in the most cautious mode. But I think whatever is proposed to have it be as much in concrete or in stone as possible would probably be the best way to get it passed.
Well, I think it makes sense because otherwise you could end up with an election for 3 selectmen in the middle of the winter or something like that when people didn't expect it and people wouldn't be ready, and it just doesn't sound.
Right. It might just be, I mean, predictability when it comes to the way governance is going to continue when you're doing a change is, I think, a good thing to have.
Yeah.
And I see your hand is.
Yes, I like David's point. So I just wanted to sort of voice agreement with that, and also note that I wouldn't see anything happening via special election unless there was I don't think there should be a special election for this. I guess I want to make clear, and I think we're in agreement about that from what I've heard so far and the nods I've seen. But I think David's point was a good one, and but I think this is written. It seems like in case there is something like that, if there happens to be a special election.
Mm-hmm.
So the language that's there is actually, even that I think is just a suggestion to the selectmen as to what to propose that the legislature adopt for us. And I suppose even when they ask the legislature to adopt special legislation for us, it could change even when it goes to the legislature. They could change it too. So.
Okay, yeah, they would have some leeway to tell us how they wanted it to happen or not.
It's a suggestion to someone who's going to make a suggestion to someone else. So
okay, thank you.
And I imagine that the legislation will take probably a whole year to get back to us, anyway. So it's not like if for instance we adopt this in May, that by the fall they would even give us the answer, so that maybe that spring would be an election. I doubt we would get it back from them
Mhm.
before another whole year. So we, like you said, the reality is it's really like 3 years out before the actual election, because they just are so slow to approve, our requests. So
Yeah, it has to get back to us in time for us to put it on the
Mhm.
ballot next year. So yeah, a lot of
Yeah.
factors at play.
I disagree. I'm sure the legislature is going to sit up and take notice when Lancaster talks. Boston listens.
I'm thinking of we've asked for special legislation to remove the police chief from the public service or the civil service requirement.
That was
And
like 4 years ago,
I
right?
don't know how many times we've had to propose it now because it
Mhm.
just doesn't end up high on their to-do list, I guess, or whatever goes on in the legislature. They
yeah, and
haven't done it for
look at
us.
DCAM 4 years out.
Yep.
It's like, you know,
Yeah. So I did hear on the news today on WBUR that a select board member in a town in Martha's Vineyard has been fined because they selected themselves as the contractor for a project, then submitted an invoice for $17,000 and approved it themselves. So you can get some notoriety if you,
Yeah.
yeah, if you, yeah. Anyway,
Boy,
that
that's
was,
how we used to get everything done.
yeah, I know a guy.
All for the good old
Okay,
days.
yeah. Um, Okay, great. Before we get into more discussion, the next thing on the agenda is approve the minutes that are ready to review, and I just wanted to thank Anne for sending them. I saw just a couple typos that I've just popped it into Google Sheets and I'll share, or to Google Docs and I'll share them, but just like, you know, double words or an when it should have been a the, but otherwise I thought they looked great.
Super. I appreciate those edits. The note taker is great. It does lead to longer minutes
Mm,
because once you start taking a point, you then are like, well, I got to do the next point, and then I got to do the next point. So they're
yeah,
longer, and I know there's because I'm copying and pasting to try to make sure I get the essence correct. I can see how the typos would happen. So thank you very
yeah,
much.
okay, cool. Yeah, and I mean they're not big. They don't change any substance. Is there a motion to? Sorry, go ahead, Susan.
I was muted. I make a motion that we approve the minutes as amended by Emily on the Google Docs.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All right, a vote. Russ Williston to approve the
Yes.
minutes.
Yes.
Susan Munyon,
Yes.
Anne Ogilvy.
Yes.
Okay, David Millett
Yes.
and Emily Taylor. Yes. Okay, awesome. Thank you for that.
And I'm almost through January or December 19th, so I hope to get those out to you this week, and then I'll still have this meeting and our last meeting. But I'm trying to get these off my plate, so you hopefully will see them soon.
Okay, great. Thanks for that. And then I've been mucking around trying to find the transcripts from different ones, and Russ has been helping me, but we'll have more to.
Yeah.
More to
No,
go ahead.
Emily did a great job of helping me figure out what we need to do to catch up on those. And I think I worked out that the meeting in January didn't actually happen. I found my old notebook, and I
Okay.
had made a lot of doodles, but it didn't look like we had actually done anything at that meeting. So I think maybe there was either Zoom issues or quorum issues, but I don't think we met. So we've got, I think, a bunch more to do. But then hopefully by the next meeting, I'll have some of them ready.
Okay, cool. And I can keep plugging on them too. Yeah, I made it was hard. I had all these scribbles. So I went through and figured out where everything was and what we don't have and what we need. So
Yeah.
I feel like I spend my life in Google Sheets these days. Good. So thank you. Anything else on minutes before we proceed? Okay, great. So the item 4 is discuss report finalization. One thing I wanted to chat about was I've had some people ask, oh, can I see your report and things? And I don't know how it works with us releasing the report vis-a-vis, the select board. I don't know if it's theirs to, distribute or ours. And I also wanted to make sure that whatever version that if it is at our discretion, I want to make sure that we all were on the exact same page with the version that we shared, just to make sure everyone felt comfortable with that. So I just wanted to quickly discuss that. It would be sort of a short form one, maybe just like a high level summary. Jason had said that he really wanted it to be very accessible, and we have that whole preamble about, what a charter is and et cetera, but also just sort of maybe a 2-pager. So just thoughts on sharing a draft and when, and yeah, that's the line of questioning. I open up the floor.
So just for sharing the draft, I think in the past when I've had drafts of things, I've always just shared them. I don't see any reason to not. I don't know what could. I mean, the danger, I guess, is that it will contain something that is not final and people will get the wrong idea, but I don't know how much we have in there that would seriously confuse people. We should put all over it that it's a draft, just so people don't think we're done with it. But I'm fine with releasing it to whoever wants it.
I agree.
Thanks. That was Susan said, I agree.
Yes.
Okay. And David?
Yeah, I mean, I think we have an obligation to do it right under open meeting law because it's been discussed and put up on the screen. I mean, I think we can say it's a draft, but I think it should. I don't think we get to decide that it's not done yet.
I think because we've reviewed it at meetings, I think it becomes public information. There is like some exception to the public meeting law where you can withhold things that you're still working on behind the scenes. It's complicated. I've never used it for anything, but it does exist if someone wanted to explore that. But I think because it's been presented to, I think we're at least obligated to hand over what we presented at the select board meeting if people ask for it.
Okay, great. And just to be clear, I want to share it. I just wanted to get all our ducks in a row about, exactly how it's done.
Yeah,
No
I appreciate that. And I do think we should say that it's a work in progress, and maybe when we anticipate like the final approval, so people can know that very clearly what you said, Emily, that stuff that's in there may not be in there and new stuff may be added.
Yep. And I had draft all over this. Though Steve still took it. He said, "Oh, I thought that was the final presentation." No, draft on every single page.
That always
Good old
happens. Like
Steve.
the moment you show anyone anything, it's the only thing they'll ever remember. So I guess we'll have to overcome that. So that may be a reason where you mentioned that like a 2-pager. That may be a good chance to highlight anything that we might have changed from the draft. So
that's a great idea. That's a great call. Okay, cool.
So on the website for our board, for our committee, they just list the agendas from, and so they don't list the meeting minutes, which, now that we are approving some, they'll put a section in there, I guess, for meeting minutes. So where would we post this? Is it going to be in the right-hand margin? I don't know if you can go on the page or show it. Yeah. So they'll put meeting minutes below the agenda. They'll have its own box. I know I clicked that too, like, oh, and then it'll have its own box. So maybe they could put the final or the draft report right above the agenda. I don't know, or
like meeting materials.
It's not really, there's no place for it, really. I mean, it's nice that they moved our committee out of
Well, they didn't entirely.
because it was so buried. You couldn't, you had to know that it was ad hoc. See, those are the old ones, but we were in that category. But then there was no place for them to put agendas or other things. So they moved us at some point over into boards and committees section. So we had our own. and
Yeah.
see how they have agendas on the right and then minutes. So they'll probably,
Yeah.
you know, follow the same format, but they don't.
So it's over here in this Navy thing, in this Navy column. I think that's where they put any things that have been produced.
Okay. All right. So we don't have anything there right now. So they would just create something on the left-hand side for draft report or something like that there. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Good. Okay.
So you'll be in charge of submitting that, Emily, then?
I will. Yes, I will. I think I'll give it like another edit, not for content, just, I have some, notes to myself and ramblings of a mad woman. But then I will, for sure.
Awesome.
I apologize. I didn't get to do as much. Sorry, anything else on the draft or short form report for distribution before we move on? Okay, great. The standing committee details, I apologize. I didn't get to tidy them up like I wanted to ahead of this meeting. It was a busy weekend, busy week. So I apologize, and I'll have to do that and submit it to you all, and then we can review it at the next meeting if that's okay. But it's really just, taking. I had shown. I think I had shown you guys. I'm sure I had at some point. The qualitative data that I combined. Did you guys see this? Remember the qualitative? Anyway, I'll go in there, and then I will also pull from the data, and then that list of questions that the document that Kate had presented, which I know wasn't what people had voted on, but it did have some good questions, some good structure, and then also look at. I have an email into the Ipswich Government Study Committee, but I haven't heard back from them, so I might be brave and call them and just get some more things for there. But I'll have something to present shortly. So apologies for the delay. Okay. So then we had the warrant article language. So Russ, that's really functionally done, right? We just update it with days and dates and years and
yeah. I think you'd have to change some years in there, some of the things. I'll take a look at it. But no, as long as everyone's happy with what's in there, it's something you could include as a draft suggestion.
I thought it was very thorough when I looked at it last year. I mean, haven't looked at it since, but I really like, because it was frequently asked questions. So, you could kind of dive into that, and I really,
I can't take too much credit for it. I think I copied pretty heavily from, like I said, the other towns' work.
Sure.
Kind of a good way to know that you're not going to run into a problem.
Yeah. No need to make it difficult. Yeah. All right. I'll have it somewhere. Okay, cool.
Russ, did you put annotations for that?
No, they'll come after me, I guess.
My son's just been working on some papers in high school.
Yeah.
I'm just joking with you.
No, it's funny. I think a lot of our bylaws come from somewhere else, and everyone else's people probably cite ours and theirs. So we've got all kinds of stuff.
It's funny. I was reminded recently that a friend's kid was doing a project, and it said you have to have 2 books on your bibliography. And I remember in like 1998 when I was writing a research paper, and I had all my index cards, and like they were like, you have to use 2 websites. And it was like, where am I going to find a website? Oh, how the tables have turned.
Exactly.
Yeah. Good. Okay. So we're cruising through this agenda, which is great, but also if anyone has anything they want to talk about, please let me know. So the next agenda item was to review any business that was not reasonably anticipated 48 hours before the meeting. But if anyone has anything before that, please go ahead. Actually, now that I say that out loud, Roy had discussed, having a deadline for reply. Perhaps I haven't gotten a firm deadline from the select board on when our final is due, but maybe let's take a moment to look at the calendar and sort of how things have to fall in place. And and discuss that.
Yeah, because we don't want to be accused of sending them information and giving them no time to digest it.
Yeah.
Right.
That was something like mid-March. We had there was a listing where they said where when the warrant time opens. Wasn't that at the last select board meeting? They said the warrant opens like maybe even today. I don't remember. I thought it was at the last board meeting that they said, oh, it's meeting. I don't know. Warrant.
Yeah, because we have to know that to sort of work backwards.
Certified warrant special. Oh, that's old. Okay, sorry. That's the past.
This chart is so confusing to me. Okay. Oh no. Yeah, so we don't know yet. Or maybe they do, but I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, it's basically like almost. I got the impression it's right away, and then it's like this week, and then they have to have it by the middle of March.
Yeah, that's what I was remembering, like March 16th or something funny.
Yeah.
Okay.
So do we still have to get signatures if the select board choose to put it on the warrant, or?
Yeah, no, we wouldn't. Yeah, okay. So if the select board puts it on the selectmen can put whatever they want on the warrant, and so that would be the most straightforward way to do it. But if people do want to put it forward as a citizen petition, I think the deadline for submitting those is usually somewhat earlier because they typically have them all on the warrant in April. So there's a deadline for those. So
okay. So we should submit earlier rather than later, so that if there are people who do want to do a citizen petition, they will have time.
Yeah.
Okay. But we're thinking that we need to get an answer from them whether they plan on submitting it, or do we? I would imagine that they would have to approve it at a select board meeting because they can't. We would have to send it to them. This is what we're requesting, and they then say, okay, we're going to put it on the warrant, or we're going to modify it, verbiage, words. So we kind of need to give them an idea of, like, give us feedback, and are you going to submit it?
Yeah, I feel like if we give them a deadline for asking for their feedback, they're just going to say we're not doing it. I mean, I don't know if it changes anything, but I feel like. Well,
I guess what we do is we just submit it, and then whatever the deadline for the citizens petition is, we wait until then and submit it if they don't respond. Is that?
Yeah, it wouldn't hurt to submit it anyway, just based on the response. So.
Yeah. I do want to be careful about this committee discussing the citizens petition or any potential citizens petition during this meeting. That is an individual action. And I just want to keep it there.
Got it.
Okay.
I think it would be great if one of us reached out to the select board to understand what the deadlines for the warrant are. I'm not really thinking about anything that we might want to put forward. I intended to do it for tonight. I don't know if anyone's had the chance to read the information I put into the report about the residency requirement that I talked about last week, and how really it seems an established best practice. 17 out of 18 of our peer towns have this. And so I'm really hoping that this is another recommendation that we would make, but we would have to vote on it as a committee and then put forward, we'd have to do the work on a warrant article for that as well. And I think I mentioned last time that I did find language where this has been adopted by other towns and where they allowed folks who are still in a position, if they're from another town and they're in an appointed position, that they would serve out the remainder of their term and then rotate off after that. So I would favor something like that, but I'm happy to bring language to the committee.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, I think we should for certain.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, no, I think you're right, Emily. Though we need to wrap things up pretty quickly because we'll run out of meetings fairly shortly. Yeah.
Yeah. Want to keep momentum and get it signed, sealed, delivered on their desks.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so internally, and this is not. Let's pick a. All right, so today is February 12th. Internally, let's pick a time that we think that by which we could reasonably produce a final report. I think we'd need to do some thinking out loud. I think we need to do I could do, some just, like I said, editing and making sure there's no weird notes in it and fleshing out sections. And then we'd need to, all be able to view it and review it and vote on that this is in fact what we want to submit. So perhaps, do we want to try to do that? Well, next week is hard because next week is school vacation.
Is it really? I forgot all about that.
Yeah.
Hard to believe we're into that already.
It really is.
I mean, I'm not going anywhere, so.
I do want to say, sorry to interrupt anybody, but I'm definitely not available at all next week.
Where are you going?
I'm going to watch my son play his trombone in Disney with the rest of the high school
that's
band.
right. That's next week.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
Yep.
So,
Oh, that's awesome. Send us a video.
and unlike Ann, I'm sorry, Ann, I will not be zooming in. When I go on vacation, I have to tune out Lancaster. Sorry, Lancaster.
I don't blame you, David, and I'm not on vacation. I wish I was on vacation, but I'm tuning in from, just regular life, but somewhere else. And I respect your vacation rules and have fun.
Yeah.
Could we do a meeting the week of the 26th?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
And then one final meeting, like the first week of March or something like that. And that'll so one meeting where we have everything in, and then final meeting where we put the finishing touches on, and then where.
So select board meeting is the 4th, and then again, no, I didn't write it down. I thought the 18th, but I know it's the 4th is the next select board meeting. So I think the 26th, unless somebody's on the planning board or something like that, where they might use that week. I don't see I didn't write anything down that the 26th was a problem.
Yeah, early voting starts.
So does the 26th work for you guys?
Works for me.
It works for me.
So let's
I think I can do that.
Yeah.
6 p.m. that day, and we'll just try to get as much.
Let's get David's. David, are you?
I'm in for the 26th. I'm in.
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
And March 4th. Let me go check. Give me a second.
Well, March 4th is the select board meeting, so we probably wouldn't do another meeting that night by us. I mean, I guess we could, but that's back to back week. I mean, do we want to do it the same night? That's fine with me, but.
So I'm thinking that I think there won't be a lot of discussion about the edits we make to tighten it up. So what if we, what if we try to vote on the changes on the 26th?
Yep.
I'm happy to.
And if we
things along.
Yeah, we could even have if there's things we want to discuss and change, and then we need to vote, we could even have like a mini meeting, on like the 29th or something. Maybe I'll hold like a mini meeting, or not the 29th, because that's the strategic planning public forum.
Right.
Yeah, we could do a little meeting, and then we could ask to get on the agenda for March 4th.
Yeah,
For the
and I will
select board?
say, if it's a Thursday, we're going to be starting a meeting around 7:30 or 7:45 if you want me in there.
Okay.
So I mean,
Yep. Okay. Well, hopefully we won't.
Yeah.
And the 29th is that strategic planning thing anyway, so
Yeah.
I don't want to hold anything in competition with that. Okay, so let's aim for the 26th. I will do a bunch of editing. Others, maybe can each person review their section, just, dot the I's, cross the T's. That'd be great. And then let's aim to send it around to the group by, I'm going to put out a first date and we can play with it. The 23rd, so that we all have a chance to review it by the 26th.
Sounds good.
Well, that's when people are traveling. I mean, David's going to be on vacation the 23rd, but I mean, you can send it around then, but he probably won't be back till Sunday night.
True.
You know me well.
So,
Okay.
Nevertheless, I mean, don't not do the work. I can look.
Right.
Yeah, let's aim. I think the 23rd is a good, because then others can put in, and then maybe Dave can just take a quick look when the pixie dust is all washed off of him.
I'll be looking at my view while I'm watching Tinkerbell float by.
There you go. Okay, good. And then we'll ask to get it. So I will contact the select board about being on the agenda for the 4th, and also getting the firm deadlines for warrant and all that. And I'll report that back before we meet again, so we have it.
Perfect.
Okay, so we scheduled the committee's next meeting, which is great. Anything else that's on anybody's mind that we haven't talked about that they would like to address?
I added a document to our Google Drive, Emily. I don't know if you saw it in there. I had heard that the Department of Local Services did a review of the town last year, and they issued a report with some recommendations. They had last done a review of the town back in the late 90s and given us some recommendations. And so they wrote up a report where they reviewed what we had done since then to adopt their changes. And we had actually adopted a lot of them. And then they made some other suggestions. And one of the suggestions they made was actually expanding the select board to 5 members. So I included that. I printed that out and put it in our Google Drive. It might be something we want to cite in our report.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah, I think that's a really good idea, to reference that.
Yeah.
Do you remember where you stuck it in the Google Drive?
For lack of any better idea, I think I put it right in the main Government Studies Committee directory. So it's in there. It's called 2023. Let's see.
Yep, got it. Thank you.
Yeah. And I think it's page 13 was the section where they talk about that.
Russ, were there any other points that would
Page
be of interest
19.
to the Government Study Committee?
There are some of the things relative to what we talked about. So the other recommendations they made were, one said that the Government Study Committee should do a review of the town's bylaws. They called it a comprehensive bylaw review / town charter review. Basically, it's short enough, I won't paraphrase him. It says, in its review, the committee may recommend codifying the budget process through a town charter rather than bylaws. An effective charter will document the town structure, list all appointed and elected positions, board committees, and clearly define duties, responsibilities, and line of accountability. So kind of what we talked about back when we looked at the charter idea. But it said either through a committee as a whole or a subcommittee, Review the town's bylaws for recommendations to keep, amend, or delete, such as bylaws that are outdated, no longer applicable, or contradictory, or propose new bylaws for adoption. So, kind of what we did. I mean, we definitely didn't look at bylaws in that depth, but that might be something this next committee does, right? Go through everything. Then the next was increase the select board membership to 5. The next one was titled Eliminate the Board of Public Works. It said having the DPW report to a separate elected board silos the department from town administration and decentralizes lines of communication and management. Decision for the town to consider. The next was convert to an appointed finance committee. And the rationale they gave was, in many towns, the finance committee is appointed by the town moderator or another town body such as the select board, which I think we know from our benchmarking. It said selecting committee members by appointment can ensure enough members to consistently maintain a quorum and avoid long periods of vacancy between elections. Which I don't know if that's a problem we've had or not, especially in cases where the local civic engagement is lower than ideal. So that was one of the suggestions they made.
What was that specifically for, Russ?
That was the finance committee. They suggested
Okay.
an appointed finance committee.
Right.
And the next,
I've never seen this, but this is a big deal.
so this all came out last October. So I think it probably came out as we were struggling to keep the committee up and running.
I don't know if you guys can see my face, but I'm like,
Yeah, exactly.
Whoa.
Like, well, this is pretty important if this came out as
how did they never
they never shared this document with us,
I am sure
to let us know
Eric,
that they were recommending, the own report says going from 3 to 5.
Yeah. And
Well, it's a it's a state report, right?
so the Department of Local Services, if you've ever seen some of the data that they publish, like they collect all the data on towns, like budgets and levy limits and stuff like that. So if you see stuff that gets quoted about that, usually it comes from this Department of Local Services. And one of the things that they can do is review your town if you invite them to do it. So I think it's probably the first time we've done that in a while. And so they put this report together. Did a nice job.
It sounds like a lot of it's confirmatory to things we've already found.
A lot of it sounds very familiar. Yeah.
yeah. So let's definitely put this. I would like to put a lot of this cited in our report.
I mean, I think it's definitely a great second piece of information that it backs up the ideas that we have already.
The first part,
it comes from somebody who's not us.
Exactly.
Well,
that's important.
From a group that customarily goes from town to town and addresses the same issues in each town, so they have a good idea of what works, I guess.
Right. So they have expertise in the area, right? Because that's what they study, and on top of their expertise, they're also outside of us. So the information is unbiased.
Yeah.
I'm rarely speechless. I'm pretty speechless. I mean, I think it's a great example of something that a standing government study committee could help with, is that this should not have been done without engaging the government study committee. This would have been a great opportunity for a standing government study committee to engage with a state level subject matter expert. So it's really a shame that this, yeah. Okay.
Can we
Would
put
you
this
would you go down to the acknowledgements?
Yeah.
Because I'm just I caught that at the very beginning, and I'm just
It said
curious.
Steve Kerrigan, Dick Tussle, Kate, Cheryl Garapi, Mary Frost, and Bobby Joe Williams. They
Okay.
spoke with those specific individuals, so they didn't speak to anybody on the government study committee.
Which is fine. I don't think.
Well, was Steve on the government study committee when they spoke
Yes.
to him?
He was. Yep.
Well, it was September.
Yep. He was the
report
chair.
came out.
But the first section that they wrote about reviewing the town's bylaws probably relates directly to the Standing Government Study Committee that you want to propose, Emily. So that should probably be in our report as part of that. I mean, there's definitely lots of funny things in our bylaws. I think I had mentioned to Emily before, there's a section in our bylaws that prohibits peddlers selling tiny flags, fur coats, and spirituous liquors. Something like that. And who knows how long that's been there. But
I want to see someone do that for Halloween costumes. Just go around and just try to get a rise out of someone.
But there are definitely a lot of funny things in there.
Where is this information held? Can we put this onto our page? You know,
it would be a great thing to put on our page. Probably it's not linked anywhere right now. Yeah,
along with our final draft. I mean, where is it now that it's on the town website?
I found it in a select board packet from October, and I snipped it out of there. So that's where I found it, but it's not anywhere else on the.
I think we should. Right, I think we should ask to submit it into our page because there's no other place really that it's shown. And I think that the public should see this, you know, if this is what this report came out.
Mm-hmm.
We never mentioned it in any of our presentations.
Yeah, they make those recommendations kind of as something for the town to work on, like between reviews as well. And I don't know that there's really, like, other than Kate taking it up and pushing these individual things forward, there's no other committee in town that would do that. So that would be something that the Standing Government Study Committee might track. Like, have we implemented, like, looked at and reviewed these suggestions from the DLS? So.
And maybe even further, like, how could we implement them? What would be, you know, is there interest in the town for these changes? And, you know, there's a lot of meat there, Russ, a lot.
Yep.
Sorry, I'm just okay. This is great. This is great. I'm thinking back to the parts of the select board presentation I gave where they said, so the only reason to propose expanding the select board is based on the 280 surveys that you got.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Well, I have some very exciting things to insert into our report.
Yeah. Well, and an update for March 4th. I think it would be great if we can review if folks want to try to review this and come to that next meeting with any other, that's our voting meeting, right? So maybe just if there are any other things in here that we feel like should, require more action than simply including in the report. I don't know that we'll be there yet. But I haven't read the report because we didn't know. I'd love to know I guess I'll just look at the October select board meeting agendas and see which one it was on. I'd love to watch the discussion about and see how their report was presented and received.
Yeah.
I'll look up the date and I'll send it to you, Anne. I forget which meeting it was. I want to say October 9th, but I may be making that up.
Well, this is a great find. This seems really important. And we didn't pay for this, right? They just do it because it's part of their job.
I think it's a courtesy for any town that asks them to do it. So kind of nice.
Interesting. Thank you for bringing it to our attention.
Yes.
No problem.
Okay. Good. Great. Awesome. So I don't think we really nailed it down, but we will try to all have our edits into our sections by the 23rd. And then I'll send it around and we can be ready to hopefully vote on the final report that we'd like to submit on the 4th. We can vote on that on the 26th. Is that copacetic with everyone?
Sounds perfect.
Sounds good to me.
As Willard and I say capiche and he says kaposh. Okay, awesome. Okay, anything else?
Do we need to take a vote on that or?
I don't think so.
The schedule. I think as long as everyone's okay with it, we did. We've got
Okay.
everyone here, I think.
Unless you want to go to the mat.
Not me.
Awesome. Great. Thank you, everyone. This, I think, is our shortest meeting ever. Okay.
Thanks,
All right.
everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Sorry, move to adjourn?
Yes, thank you.
A
Yes, motion.
second.
Okay. All in favor? All right.
I
I
Okay. Any nays? Nope. Okay, we are adjourned.